Hey everybody, welcome to Give Me a Song. I am Jeff Phipps, your host. Thank you for much listening. I bring friends on to talk about a song that they give me. I give them a song and we talk about this, both songs. Today we have with us
Pryce.
Hello Pryce. Introduce yourself and tell me what you do.
I'm Pryce. I am a local comedian and I also serve at Southwest Diner.
All right. So, how long have you been doing comedy?
10 and a half years, or almost 11 years.
Wow, congratulations. What would you say your biggest accomplishment is as a comedian? Or has been?
I mean, I guess that's subjective. I guess maybe releasing a special on Amazon Prime is one. That, or probably, and personally to me, like the biggest accomplishment is when I go on the road with comics that I really admire or that inspired me early on, and then I get to work with them, and then we hit it off, and then I go and I travel with them. That's like the biggest thing to me.
Who? Give me an example of like one of them.
Craig Conant was one that I discovered early on in comedy from one of his clips that went viral, and I was following for a long time, and I just loved him, and he actually like influenced my style quite a bit. And then I finally got the chance to open for him, and we hit it off immediately, became like close friends over the week, and then I would just start opening for him a bunch, and we just became like brothers.
That's awesome.
And then Casey Fry is another one that I was a huge fan of before I even started doing comedy myself. I was always watching his videos, and then same thing, got to open for him, had a great show, had a great night, and then he was like, why don't you join me on tour? So I did that. Ashley Gavin is another one who's just an incredible comedian, and I've looked up to for a long time. It's just such a naturally graceful on stage, and just well composed, and it's just so good at what she does, and makes it happen so naturally. And then I got to work with her, and then I've toured with her as well.
That's awesome. I think that's like the biggest I'm here kind of thing. One of them, obviously recording a special is got to be, as you're coming up, getting asked to be taken on the road is got to, it's like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Right.
Somebody saying, hey, you're good, please come with me. I think you're funny. I want you to, warm the crowd for me and make my life easier. And you're the right person to do that. I think that's like a really good lead in to being able to, have a special, put it out there, put it on Amazon, and, like everybody was like, we follow each other on Facebook or whatever, and Instagram and everything. And people were just so complimentary. When your special came out, 2 weeks, what are we at? Like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks?
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
About a month, I think. And they were like, hey, I got to check out my friend's special in my house. Like it's one thing to have a YouTube clip or a YouTube special, but to have something on Amazon where, you gotta make an effort. You have to pay for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, either way, it depends on how you look at it. I think like the public eye, to like the general person, they would be like, oh, releasing a special, that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think it's for like a personal thing, is that like as comedians, of course, like the whole reason we do it is because we want validation. We're people who seek out validation, and so there's nothing more validating than being complimented, accepted, and like asked to work with someone that either inspired you early on or that you just look up to and hold in high regard. And so that's like, from my end, that's like, the really special feeling. But I will say the night that I shot the special was probably my favorite single night of comedy ever, just because it was just like a magical night. The taping was.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And that was at the St. Charles Funny Bone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was over a year ago now, right?
Yeah, that was in September of last year. And then I'm headlining there again in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I don't know when this is coming out. I mean, I could probably figure it out at this point.
It doesn't matter.
Because the podcast is out. When I was first recording these, I was just like, I don't know what's going to happen with any of this, or if it's ever going to get edited, if it's ever going to come out. I would just sit here and talk to people about music, and they'd be like, yeah, this may never happen. But now it's a thing. So it might come out around the same time. So if you're watching...
Congrats on that.
Oh, well, thank you. So if you're watching or you're following or listening on Spotify or however you're getting the podcast, there's a good possibility you could get tickets to Max's next show, and go catch him live because he's very funny.
Thank you.
You filmed a special, you put it out. How have you taken that in? How's the reception been? I mean, besides your friends who are always going to be complimentary. If they're not,
I will say because there was the kind of the stall in getting it released, that kind of it took there's a year turnaround just to get it released.
Yeah.
And so that put like kind of a damper on some things, especially like the hype of it. And I don't know, just it's had it's going okay. I mean, there's a decent amount of views on it, but not quite where I'd like it to be. Luckily, I have some close friends that have very large social media followings, like on TikTok and Instagram, that said that they're going to, either this week or next week, they're both going to shout it out on their socials, and hopefully that will be what the boost in views that Amazon needs to for the algorithm to really push it. I had one friend who has a lot of followers shout it out, and that got me a pretty good boost. Hopefully these other two will, and then because I don't know, I mean there's no specific amount, but they gave me a range, and they're once it gets to this point, and another big thing is because with Amazon you can rate and review, so it's not just views but also ratings and reviews, so it's 3 factors, So if I can get a certain amount of views, if at least all of those have really good ratings and people leave a good review, then they'll start bumping into the algorithm sooner. So that's something we're still working on. It's probably actually going to end up, usually, when you first release is when it's its biggest pop is, and then it dies. But because of how this setup is, the pop and it getting pushed into algorithm, it's gonna take a little bit longer. So it's still sort of, it's still more just there than anything, because it's still at a point where people have to specifically search it for it to find it, because Amazon doesn't own it. I still own the special.
What's the cut on that? Just that, if you don't want to share it, you don't have to.
I'm not gonna share the cut, but
no, I'm saying do you Amazon's taking a certain percentage? What is that percentage, or do you don't want to talk about that?
Oh, you mean the revenue?
Yeah, so you have it on Amazon to purchase or rent, right?
Right.
And then so I know on Apple, if you put an app on Apple, they get 30% of that.
Right. It is. I mean, I know what my cut is. I can't remember how much goes specifically to Amazon and how much goes to.
Was there a distributor in between?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay,
my contract is with the third party.
Gotcha. Okay. Then you don't have to get into
the production team. Yeah. So I have a contract with them. So I mean, there are pros and cons to that because I own it. They don't care as much. They're not trying to push it. But I can just I have all the rights to it. So
you can put it on YouTube tomorrow.
I can do whatever I want with it.
Yeah.
So and I like that. Even if it ends up, maybe being a little less popular because of that, or maybe a little less money, I still just like the idea of owning my thing, and I just having the freedom to do whatever I want. I don't want to be committed to any one specific thing,
In music, that's a big deal. Owning your rights. Taylor Swift went through that. She's re-recording her music because she doesn't own her original records.
Right.
And so that can lead us right into your song and your band, because they have their own record label, correct?
Yeah, they do.
So let's transition.
All right.
How about that for a transition?
How about that segue?
How about it?
Really telegraphed that segue too.
I'm terrible.
We really called it out. We really called it out.
Yeah. There's no grace here.
This is where we transition into the next subject.
Oh, I do want to point this out. So my editor, aka my daughter, she's the one who edits these, and she gave me a list of things I need to do. So one of the things I need to do is you're going to say the name of the song, and then there's going to be a QR code on the video, and there's going to be a music break. That's when you're supposed to go listen to the song.
Okay.
So who's the song by, and what is the name of the song?
So The artist is Suicideboys, and the song is called "A Little Trauma is Illuminating, and I'm Shining Like the Sun." It's just quite a long.
That is a long title.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Hopefully the QR code already hit, the music played. Go listen to the song. It's very important to listen to the songs because that's the whole point is we're going to talk about this song right now. I don't know what the QR code is. Thank you for that though.
Hopefully
I appreciate it. Jada's really good at this. So she's far better at editing than I am about talking.
I think it'd be really funny if she specifically made sure it was never, like every time I do that, it's like a little bit off.
So so how this works is people give me songs. There's a long story. If you follow the podcast, you know. Do you want to hear the story? It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So you'll be the 9th or 10th person. You're the 10th person that I've told this story to. I was hanging out with a comic, and it was after a show, and he was wearing a Drive-By Trucker shirt. And I was like, I saw them in concert, and I was like, I wasn't impressed. Like, we actually talked about this before the podcast. We'll get into that more in a minute, but he was like, oh, well, did you hear this song? And I was like, well, play it. And then he played this song, and I was like, oh, okay, well, if I would have heard that, then I would have been more on board. And I'm like, well, now you got to hear this. And immediately I gave him a song, and I was like, then like a year or 6 months or 7 months went by, and I was like, I could do this. Like, I want to talk to people about music. I want to talk to about things that they care about. You know, like, I want to know, like, why people listen to the bands they listen to, songs they listen to, what it means to them. So that's it. That's the show. So you gave me Suicideboys, and I'm never gonna. It's like a little trauma.
A little trauma is illuminating, and I'm shining like the sun.
What a great song title. So the first thing I did was listen to it. I listen to a lot of rap. I really do, and I don't know people you know that. I don't know you know that. That's fine. I don't. We don't talk. We haven't talked music. We talked a little bit about Mastodon at one point. Because we talked about maybe going to the concert and we didn't go, which was at the Super Bowl like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, I remember the Super Bowl. We discussed music for briefly. I can't remember what all we discussed, but I remember sitting there talking about music.
Yeah, and so again, like I already had this. You helped. Yeah. And you didn't know, and I didn't know, but here we are. What a great song title! I heard the song, I listened to it, and I can catch lyrics most of the time right off the bat because I've been listening to rap since I was a kid. And the first thing I caught is I don't know when, when I'm off the stage. I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but it's like I don't know when I'm on the stage or off the stage, like where that begins or
trying to figure out where the stage ends and I begin.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like this is this is your band. And you'd mentioned Suicideboys at the Super Bowl when we were talking, so I knew that was already your band. So I kind of figured that was going to be a song from them. I didn't expect it to be this song, and I didn't expect for it to like hit. I took it like it really meant a lot to me. It really caught me. One of the second verse by the other guy, he's like, my dream vacation is self-isolation or something like that. And I'm not saying it perfectly, but I was like,
basically,
I'm like, dude, I could get down with a vacation where I'm just like away from everybody. And then the chorus is, I got gold teeth, but I can't sleep. And it's like such a sign of like, people don't realize this stuff. Everybody thinks like because we're artists or whatever, comedians, and people don't see everything outside of that. The only time that they see Max Pryce is on stage. The only time they see Jeff Phipps is on stage. My friends know me or whatever. And they get to see the whole package, which isn't always pretty. But it's like a song like this, like really identified with me, especially with you, but tell me more about it. Like, so when did you discover the Suicideboys? Let's start there.
So I discovered them, I want to say, like, I first listened to them probably like 5 years ago, but the first time I listened to them, the thing is their discography is so vast. It's so incredibly vast, and every EP, it's all rap not all of it, but for the most part it's all rap. And but even within that subgenre of rap, it's like every EP and album has a very distinct different sound, and it's like they have so much variety in their music that like there's people that have that there's like two people can love the Suicide Boys, but have completely different tastes in music within that artist because they have like over the years they've done like such different sounds. And so the first time I listened to them, I just happened to listen to a couple songs that were on an album that even when I became like a super fan of them, that really had to grow on me. So the first time I heard it, I was just like, it's okay, whatever. And I heard a little bit from them here and there throughout, and I was like, I like this song. And it was like I kind of liked them for like a year or two, and then a few years ago, I was listening to a different artist. And like on Spotify, whenever the playlist is done, just starts playing songs recommended for you or whatever.
I have that disabled.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I've discovered so many people that I love through that. So I was listening to someone that's actually on there. I discovered or I became a fan of someone on their label before I actually became a fan of them. So I was listening to that guy, and then the songs recommended for you came on. And then, funny enough, the song that popped up was the song that actually inspired the name of my comedy special.
And what is the name of your comedy special?
Lost in the Sauce.
Okay.
And that's one of the lines in the song that Ruby says, and like the way he delivered it, like the beat is just like, it's very like haunting, but it's like upbeat. I was just like, when it first
What's
came
the name
on,
of that song? So
it's called What the Fuck Is Happening.
Okay.
And so it's just like this very like dark and like haunting beat, but it's also upbeat. So it's like it's hard to explain. Like I've just really never heard anything like it. And so my phone was in the other room, and I was just like listening on my headphones, and that came on. And then the first verse, like Ruby delivers the line "Lost in the Sauce." And the way he said it, I was just like, oh, I really like this guy's flow. Like, who is this? I didn't even recognize it was them because it was just like so different from the style that I'd heard, the songs I'd heard before. And I saw it was them, and I was like, okay, I need to like give these guys another chance and like go through the discography. So I was like, I love this song. And so literally starting that night, I just went to the very beginning of their discography, and it took a long time because they have so many songs. It took me like weeks to like get through their whole discography, and by the time I got to the end, I was like, well, this is like my favorite artist now. I was like, holy crap! I can't believe I went so long without, listening to all of it.
Yeah.
But the reason I chose that song. Which I do like that first verse, and I do relate to that as well. But specifically, the reason I chose that song was actually because of the second verse. So that song by them is the first and only song that's ever made me cry.
Okay.
And like I've been, I've had, moments where I'm like already an emotional wreck, and I'm basically already crying, and I start listening to sad music, and it just like kind of goes. But that was the first song that I ever was just like having a normal day in a normal mood, and the first time I listened to the song many times, but it was the first time that I really just like paid attention to the lyrics. I was driving, and I was driving down Jameson, and listening to that song, and I was actually like focused on the lyrics. And the second verse, Ruby's verse, was so relatable that it was like, that whole second verse, it was like it was written for me, or like I was the reference point for that verse, because it is every single line he says in that is something that is like that I felt very strongly. And
give me some examples.
So his verse is. My type of vacation is isolation. I want to be left alone. Going to see how long I hold until I get to fighting off temptations of self-annihilation. Holding myself hostage by all this emotional blockage. I can feel it coming now. It's all coming out. A verbal kind of vomit. I wish I could gut it out. Take away my stomach. Fucking rip it all apart. Up this hollow cage of calcium that used to hold my heart. I know I'm meant to be alone. I can feel it in my bones. My type of vacation is isolation. I'm an introvert to the fullest extent. So any chance I get, if I have the chance to be home alone, that's my vacation.
There's a lot of comics. A lot of people don't know this. It's like a lot of us aren't extroverted people.
Yeah, which surprises people, because also it's insane how many people do not actually understand what extroversion and introversion is.
Yeah.
They think like there's so many misconceptions about what it means to be an extrovert and what it means to be an introvert.
Yeah.
And so whenever I tell people an introvert, they're like, "No, you're not. You're a stand-up comedian." I was like, those aren't like,
right.
You know, those can exist in the same place. So, but I'm, you know, very heavily an introvert, and it's very difficult for me when I don't get my alone time, which has become increasingly difficult with being a full-time single father now. And then, you know, I take antidepressants. Before I was on medication, I struggled with, you know, suicidal ideations, and that's like why I came up with this. My merch design is, you know, it says "Happy to be here," and it's it's a crying face that's trying to smile. So it's like, you know, it's like a nod to like being honest about your mental health and stop trying, you know, not just trying to like fake your way through it until it kills you.
Right.
It's just like being honest and getting help. And that's why I donate 10% of the proceeds from this merch to Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. So that, like, you know, hit me really hard. And then he says, "I know I'm meant to be alone," or like you know, he's talking about emotional blockage. You know, that's something I've had a lot of hard time with. A lot of my life is emotional regulation. You know, went to therapy for it, and then was the last. Oh, I know I'm meant to be alone. I feel it in my bones. You know, that's just something I've always. You know, I've spent almost my whole life single. You know, I've spent very little time in relationships, and anytime I have, it's been like a deep dive very quickly, and then quickly burned out, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just, you know, a issue that I've struggled with and thought about a lot in my life. So it was just like, I had never in my life heard a song where it was literally like I had written it, and it just hit me so hard, and it was crazy just to go from like normal day driving around to like I had to pull over. Like I pulled into a parking lot and just like bawled because like it was, and I've never had a song hit me emotionally like that before. I mean, of course, you know, I do get very emotionally attached to music in general.
Yeah.
And you know, for any types of emotions and lots of different genres of music, but this was the first time that it had been like to that extent, and you know, like that, you know, because like I'm not a crier. It takes a lot for me to cry. So like for a song just to do that when I'm not even like in that state already was just like, wow, this is, you know, no song has ever been this powerful on my thoughts. So that's just like instantly became, I already liked the song, but because of that, it like instantly became one of my all-time favorite songs.
Do you listen to it a lot now, or is it like something you can't listen to anymore?
No, I still. I mean, that's the only time it ever made me cry. I think I was just like, I think a part of the reason was just I wasn't expecting it, you know, and it was just like, you know, especially it was the first time I was really listening to the lyrics, you know, so it was like I was hearing lyrics for the first time. This love the song. I mean, I just think it's an awesome beat. This just you mentioned the one thing that all my Dan player, all my teeth gold.
Yeah.
I still can't sleep though.
Yeah.
And that's actually like they use that in a lot of their beats, and it's something they've talked about how like Scrim, when getting sober, was that like one of the things for him that was like a enlightening moment was, you know, he spent all this time thinking like, okay, like when I get big and I get rich and I'm doing well for a living, I'll be happy. Like once I achieve that, I'll be happy. And then he was like, I kept, you know, achieving these goals and these accomplishments, and I still wasn't happy, and I kept being like, okay, well, the next thing will make me happy. And I kept getting there, and I'm like, none of these things are making me happy. So, you know, I have to make a change, you know, a different change in my life. and that was they've both been sober for like 3 years now, 3 or 4 years now.
That's awesome.
And what a lot of people don't, I think they like a lot of the reason it got a bad rap is that like they for one being called the Suicide Boys, and then they they have songs that people would maybe argue like romanticize or like make people fantasize even more about being suicidal. But they've talked about it. They very rarely do interviews, but when they do, they've talked about how some of the songs they just want people to know that they're not alone in having those thoughts. So like they're expressing what they go through. And then but then they have other songs that are very like strongly like about encouraging people to get help and to fight through that depression and not to kill yourself. Like one of their songs that I love, it's called "The Number You Have Dialed Is Not in Service," but the chorus that they like keep repeating is "When life gets hard, keep on marching on, even if the finish line is far or you have to push the car, just keep on marching on." And so and then at the end of every concert, Scrim does this long like 15-minute speech where he just discusses the things he's been through and how like he can relate to anyone that has depression or suicidal ideations or anything like that. And he like talks about getting help, and he just encourages people to. He's like I never want anyone to think that we're fantasizing or romanticizing or pushing the idea of suicide. It's quite literally the opposite. It's like us saying that we understand it because we go through it ourselves, and we want others to not. In fact, the reason they called themselves the Suicide Boys was because when they first started as a group in the early 20s, they're cousins. The two guys in the group are cousins, and they both suffered from severe depression and suicidal ideations and drug abuse, and they were both having a lot of struggle with that early on. And they made a pact together. They were like, if we don't, because they're like the same age, they were like, if we don't make it in this business by the time we turn 30, then we have permission to kill ourselves if we want. But we have to make a pact to each other, not to, because we're in this, they're in this together, can't do it without the other. So they're like, they made a pact that they wouldn't kill themselves until at least the age of 30, and just to put everything they had into this, and they made it well before that.
Obviously. I got a couple questions, and I read a lot of this is I don't know who wrote their Wikipedia page, but clearly it was like somebody who was like a fan of the band, because it wasn't like a short like this is the band, this is what they put out, or the group or whatever you want to call them. It was like very detailed and very like extensive. Like it's a very long Wikipedia, and they covered a lot of that. First thing, you mentioned the success thing. I have that same problem. I went to therapy. I go to therapy. There was a school shooting right up the street at Central VPA. I taught there for 13 years, and one of my friends was killed in the shooting.
The one from just like a few years ago?
2 years ago. Oh. Actually, 2 years ago, like a week ago.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, I taught there for 13 years.
Really?
Yeah. I taught math and computer science at a performing arts school. So I had to go to therapy and for that, and I knew the shooter. The other student, the student who was killed, was
the shooter was a student.
Was a former student. Yeah, he came back after 2 years, and like it's a whole thing. And I don't talk about this much. But if we're gonna talk about if we're gonna get like just deep down and diving into things, we're here. We're here now,
right? Exactly.
So I went to therapy to talk about that because I felt like I had like survivor guilt because I wasn't there.
Right.
And like one of the former students had messaged me.
Oh, you worked there at the time.
I was not there anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'd already left.
Okay. How long had you been?
It had been like 2 years, 2 or 3 years. So if it's been 2 years ago and it's 2024, then it was 2022. and I left in 2020. Like when the pandemic really hit, I got offered a job, which is where I'm at now, and I took that. And I was like, I can't teach during a pandemic. It was like Zoom calls, and I was drinking, and it was just a terrible time for everyone. So if you were a teacher and you quit during the pandemic, I don't blame you. And then never came back after the pandemic. I just didn't.
Yeah, I have friends who were teachers that quit during the pandemic because it was just such a nightmare and they never came back.
No. So I went to therapy, and one of the other things that I talked about, it's like, I don't, we talk about comedy. I'm a comedian. I'm not where I want to be, but like when I do have like successes, like I don't feel anything. Like in my personal life, in my work, like I feel like almost like nothing. Like I don't want to say I'm dead inside. I'm not dead inside.
Yeah.
Or at least I tell myself that. Maybe I am, and that's like me lying to myself. I don't know. I'd like to think I'm not dead inside, but like I had an ex-girlfriend one time. I was opening Christmas. She's like, "Try to smile when you open these gifts." I was like, "Okay, like I'll do that."
Do you?
I was like, "Yes," but I always wanted a pair of jeans.
Is this a side effect of medication, or do you not?
I'm not on any medication. No, I'm not. This is just how I feel. Like
right.
I like every victory is like, I don't know if I don't think it's an expectation. I don't expect to have like wins.
Because usually that's like one of the side effects of
Oh no, I don't know. I've never been on any kind of.
And that's like antidepressants. That's like one of the side effects is that like it's like, well, yeah, it kept you from killing yourself, but you also aren't like, there's no like, you're also don't feel the high of the highs either.
No,
just
I don't. Well, I'm getting it for free then. Lucky me.
you just got a Zoloft just flowing through your veins.
I guess
naturally.
so. Yeah. My editor, bless you, Jada, was like, write things down, but I don't. Yeah. You listen to a band like this, you see their Wikipedia page, you see that they like. This is what I was wanting to say. I've gone through times where it's just like, this sucks and I could go tomorrow. As long as I've done enough, I'm good. Like it's been a decent run. Not a great run because remember, I don't feel victories.
Right.
And that's been consistent, like forever. And so like I could check out tomorrow and everybody would be alright with it. No one would be alright with it. Okay, I want to make that abundantly clear. Like if you feel like things aren't going well, people will miss you.
Of course.
And that's I'm sure like suicideboys understand that, and they try and get that point across. A friend of mine made a pact, a similar pact, but it was just like if you can find a reason to get out of bed that day, that was it. As long as you can find some stupid reason, and it just would be like, oh man, I'm gonna go get something to eat. Like as simple and stupid as that. Then it was like, okay, well, I gotta do this, and I don't have time to do that. And you know what I mean by that. So it was kind of like, that's how I looked at it, so that's kind of what kept me going was, what's the stupid thing I got to do today? Mm-hmm. And then that's it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like everybody, there's lots of, that's one of a few like great, things that I've, like tips and things to sort of live by. Some people, find other things more helpful, but I know a lot of people who have, gone solely off of that, know, or like that little, that app where you have like, I think it's like you're taking care of like an egg or something like that, and like you only get to unlock the little accessories for it, like for if you've done like. If you got out of bed that day, you get like like the sunglasses. If you brush your teeth, then you get the hat, something like that.
That's great.
I think I'm butchering it, but it's that idea,
No, absolutely.
It might not even be an egg. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's
Tamagotchi with goals.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to. Compared to Tamagotchi, it's like a depression Tamagotchi.
Hey, look, that sounds like a great idea, and like I never heard of it, and I don't know if it helped me at this point. Now I'm just being mad. It's like I did do these things. Give me my rewards. But little things. It's the little things. That's what you shoot for, and that's that's what you take away. It's like this song just kind of reminded me of that. It was kind of like it's like you can be on top of the world and still life can suck. And then that sucks. But sometimes you need to, you need to hear that from like people you admire sometimes, or people you look up to. It's like we're all people. The one thing I didn't know a lot when I got into comedy. Like I just kind of avoided it. I always wanted to do comedy, but I just avoided it for whatever reason. And when I started doing it, and I got to know like people, people you look up to, like you had mentioned at the start of this. It's like, oh, there's no difference between you and I, and it's like, how did I not realize that sooner? Like what got me into comedy? I was always wanting to do comedy.
I can't remember who it was that told me this, but I don't know if he still does, but apparently something Bill Burr used to do a lot is, when he'd be like in a new city and he's like, if he didn't know like the opener, like meeting his new opener, like one of his like first things would be like, so what's your crazy thing? So he's like nobody that does comedy, or at least is any good at it, is like, you got a clean bill of mental health. Like we've all got something that we're trying a void we're trying to fill. It's like there's lots of different things that it could be. But so he would like, I guess he would ask. I don't know if it was something he did a lot or just like he did with like did make a few, but like I had a couple people tell me that like, I opened for Bill Burr, and the first time I met him, like within like a couple minutes, he was like, so what's your thing? Like why are you fucked up?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to yourself? Because it's such a kick in the teeth. It's such a beating your head against the wall kind of hobby.
Yeah.
Or a pursuit. I think pursuit's better word than hobby, because it might take off tomorrow. It may never work out. Like it's just it's random luck in some regards. Some of it isn't. There's a lot of great comedians who'll never make it.
It is a roller coaster.
A roller coaster is a great word.
It really is like something that sometimes I truly don't think that the human psyche is built to withstand, because you will feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows sometimes in the same day.
Yeah.
With a comedy, and just doing that, especially like when you're like in this certain position where you're on the road, but you're not like killing it, you're not like selling out, not like you don't have all the money, and like the touring isn't luxurious or fun, it's just you're just living out of a suitcase in a Motel 6 in Omaha or something like that, going from city to city, and it's like there's just this, sometimes you'll have an amazing, incredible show one night, and the very next night we'll have one of the worst sets of your life, or even like sometimes there's been times where I was doing the weekend, and both Saturday shows were incredible. I had such an amazing night, and I have this just crazy high from just this awesome show, and talking to people afterward, and then went to my hotel room alone, and like all I could think about was the fact that like everybody else is like, they're like going home with their loved one or whatever, and they're doing something else to enjoy themselves. I'm just sort of sitting there like with my Taco Bell, because that was the only thing that was open at that time, and I'm watching the Discovery Channel in this freezing cold room, and I'm just like, is this it? Like, this is
That's what you wanted.
I know, that was the thing, I know, and that's exactly the thing, and I was like, it's like, fuck, like a few years ago I would like kill to be here, like headlining on the road, like this is exactly what I wanted, what I'm dreaming of. Now I'm here, and I'm like, well, part of it is great, but all the rest of it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and people don't realize that. We put off recording this podcast. Remember, we were supposed to do this like a month ago.
Yeah.
And we put it off.
So because the show.
Because the show.
Yes.
How was the show?
The show was.
So to clear it up, Suicide Boys just came to St. Louis like a month ago, and we were supposed to record before then. And then I saw the concert was coming up, and I said, "Hey, I want you to go to the show."
Yeah.
So I want you to how many times have you seen them? Let's start there.
I've only seen him twice. The 2 years prior to that, I was on the road while they were in town. This year wasn't a problem because of certain circumstances. I can't travel right now.
Yeah.
Last year, because I had missed them the last 2 years that I've been a fan of them, I was like, I am just making sure that week is blocked off. I don't care. Like, I was like, if a booker hits me up, I'm just going to say I'm booked. Like, I am not missing the show again. You know, I'm not missing them a third year in a row. So I saw them last year and this year. Both were at the Enterprise Center, and the show a few weeks ago was so awesome. And I mean, it was one of those things where, like I was saying before we started recording, it was like, because it was St. Louis was at the very end of the tour, it was the third to last city, you could just tell. I think they did 46 cities or something like that.
Yeah.
In 2 months. So that's
insane.
They are, just clearly exhausted and worn down and sick and tired, which of course they would be. But you can also see that they're still pushing through that to try to make sure they give the best show absolutely possible. And so I really appreciated that. But the visuals and the production of the show was like just a step above last year. It was so well done, so well orchestrated. What's awesome is that what they ended up doing in the last album they put out, when they first put out the first single for it, when the song came out, a random fan that was like, I guess like a graphic designer, artist or whatever, made like I guess it looks sort of like an AI, almost like an AI. I think he drew it, like he drew it, whatever. He's like designed this like cartoony anime music video. It's like very trippy though.
Yeah.
And just for fun, as a music video for this song that didn't have a music video.
Yeah.
And I guess the Suicide Boys, they saw that because it went like viral. A bunch of people shared it, and it was really cool. I remember when it was popping off, and everyone in the fan pages was sharing it, and so they got a hold of the guy, and they were like, "Yo, we love this. Do you want to do this for like all of our songs on our set list, and we'll and we can use it on tour." And so this random fan that just like made some fan art basically ended up getting to do the visuals for every song that they did on tour. That are on this giant ass screen, and some, I guess I wouldn't say every song. I would say like maybe like a little more than half, because there were other songs where it was nothing like that. It was something totally different, and like wasn't a hologram, but like the way it was on the screen, it looked like they had this one where one of their songs on the screen is this like almost like zombified mental patient that's like strapped to a thing, and he's got like wires going through him and all this stuff, and he's like struggling to break out and get out and break free. And like every time like when he would like do this, it
looked like he was
it looked like he was coming. I mean, it was just
awesome.
It was crazy. They just like went like some of the songs, they went so overkill on the pyrotechnics, but it was just like perfect, because it's just such a like heavy song, it's just like one of their heaviest songs. And so they just, I mean, like not only this year, like not only were the flames like there are more of them, but some of them like rotated and stuff, so the flames would like doing like this rotating thing, and then like
so spared no expense is what you're getting.
Yes, I mean they like went all out. It was so awesome. And then even at the end of the tour, they're like, and if you thought the production this year was crazy, wait till you see what we have planned for next year. So I'm just like, what?
That's awesome.
So now I'm just counting down the days till next year. But I mean, just like the year before, the energy was awesome. They killed it on stage. I mean, like I said, even though you could tell they were like so tired.
Was Denzel Curry there?
He went on right before them, and he was awesome.
But remember, when I talked to you about this, I was like, I thought about going, but Denzel Curry, I couldn't confirm he was there. And you're like, I don't think he's going to be there. So I was like, okay, well then I don't have to worry about going. And then like 2 days later, they're like, oh, Denzel Curry killed in St. Louis, and I was like, oh, did he?
Dude, I know, dude, and I feel so bad, because there's also one other person that I had told that it wasn't going to be there, because I should have like actually looked and did the details myself. But the way that they had it, like whenever they announced the tour, there were certain shows that certain people weren't going to be on. But they did it a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
And so it looked like it ended up being like, because there's 2 rows of cities, and it was like certain ones in each row, but they made it look like this whole row
wasn't getting
that this whole row was.
Yeah.
It was just at first glance it looked like that, and then people in the pages were saying because he wasn't at this show like a few cities before.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, I wish Denzel Curry would have been. I was like, okay, so he's not like. I assumed that if he wasn't there a few cities ago that he wasn't gonna, he's just done,
No, it's okay.
And then I felt so bad because there was another person who was like a huge Denzel Curry fan, and she's like, I don't even like Suicideboys. I want to go see Denzel Curry, and I was like, oh, he's not gonna be there. And then the next day she's like, I'm seeing all these pictures, like, he was there. I literally didn't go because you told me that. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But having said that, I will say, if you were going for anyone but the Suicideboys, you were paying a pretty penny to see a very short set. Yeah. Because they have, there's 6 artists. Yeah. So there's, everyone's getting a pretty short
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and Denzel Curry, he got the most of
so he's the feature.
All the openers, basically. He got the most of the openers, but even still, he wasn't on for all that long, you know? But, the first 3 guys were, did,
3 songs.
4 full songs and 2, one or 2 half songs, so if that. It was, so short. It's I think the first 3 artists did 15 minutes.
Makes sense.
And then Puya did, probably, maybe, 25, and then Denzel did or maybe 20, and then Denzel did maybe 25 or something like that. But it was if you because those tickets were really expensive. So if you paid the money to see anyone other than the Suicideboys, especially if you don't even care for the Suicideboys,
if you don't care, you shouldn't go. If you're on the fence. It's I want to see so and so, but you're really on the fence about the headliner. You probably shouldn't go.
Yeah, because that's where the majority of your team is going to, and also because obviously as every band does, the production for all the other artists is so low. They basically every artist before Suicideboys, the screens are off, and they just have they're these 2. These 2 basically boxes that lit up, with their name or whatever. Yeah, it was the box lit up and it was their name, and that was all they had and stuff. So, so they're there's not a whole lot of oomph to it, and but then Suicideboys come on and it's everything is lit up. You're like, whoa, I didn't know all that was back there. It's because it's in the dark for everyone else, and then they come on and it all lights up and you're like, holy fuck. Which is, obviously, they're not going to let their openers have the same shine that they do. So it's if you're going to spend that kind of money, at least wait till he's touring as the headliner, Right. Having said that, he was incredible.
Oh, good to know. Thank you for what you should have said is just you were better off. It's good that he didn't.
But it was so short that it was it's just not.
I just recently like I said I recently just kind of discovered him in JPEG Mafia, and then I was and then I heard he was coming to town. It's okay, maybe, but some rappers aren't really good live, and some of them are, or they need the hype man to finish their lyrics. So it's kind of it's all hit and miss.
But he does his own touring. It's not some artists I get I will say the year before the feature opener was Ghostmane, and he never tours. You never get to see him live. So the fact that he was touring with them at all was a huge deal, you know? So people were getting tickets just to see him. But it was well, you're not going to get this chance for years to come again,
That makes sense.
So, So I see that, and he was, oh God, I hope he tours with them again too, because he's another one of my favorites, and he was one of the most amazing live performers.
Awesome.
But Denzel Curry, man, his energy is just, I mean, he does not stop. Like, he is...
It's pretty cool.
Boom, boom. I mean, just... Oh. I will say there was one... I was crying laughing, and I felt bad for him, but he's just so hype. He's, like, always trying to, like, you know, hype people up and, like, start moving right up, blah, blah, blah. And there was one part where he was like... I couldn't see because I was sort of, like, in the middle, and he was, like, trying to hype up the crowd on the side. And he was like, anyone that was like not standing up, he was like pointing specifically to people, like, get your ass up, stand up, blah, blah, blah. But at one point, he was pointing to a guy in a wheelchair, and he didn't realize it. And he's like, what are you doing, sit down, get your ass up, man, get your ass up. And like, it literally, like, someone next to him was like this, and like, literally, like, you know, there's this music is like, this hype music is going on, and you just hear him go, oh, my bad, man, you can stay there. I was fucking cracking the fuck up. Just like, like, to go from like, get your motherfucking ass up. Oh, my bad, man, you can stay there. And then you just like, and then he just goes to the other side of the stage.
That didn't happen. I'm going over here. All right,
so
speaking of live bands, and speaking of people who have a reputation for being a good live band, I gave you a song.
Mm-hmm.
How was that for a transition?
Incredible.
But if you pointed out, this is a good transition.
I mean, we could work on not talking about how good the transition was after you do it.
You could.
But I mean, what's the fun in that? You know?
What is the fun? Anyone who really does it, like people who do transitions, like the real pros would never tell you, but the people who do like halfway decent ones want to make sure that you know that they do
Besides, the
halfway
first
decent
50 episodes of a podcast series are just an open mic. You know what I mean?
Pretty much,
you know, you're like you're
learning.
You're learning.
Yeah.
And
I gave you a song.
Yes, I Appear Missing.
By
Queens of the Stone. Oh, sorry, by Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I listened to it several times. The first time I listened, I think I listened to it like 5 or 6 times. The first time I listened to it, I was just like, it's okay. But by like the 4th time I listened to it, I was like, I really dig this song. I really like this. Like I told you before, I listened to it several times before I watched the music video.
Yeah.
So I was really struggling with, I had, you know, based on the lyrics, I was like, I feel like this could go a few different ways, but it's kind of throwing me off, you know, and Josh Homme as always has some, you know, more abstract kind of lyrics that, you know, there's not like, it's not straightforward, like a lot of people, you know, so it's almost like you're kind of like, I feel like you could be talking about this or that, whatever, you know.
Well, what did you think you were talking about to start?
Okay, so after watching the music video, I think maybe I'm also subconsciously thinking that you chose this song because I gave you a Suicide Boys song, but he's clearly, you know, brokenhearted, and talking about that, and then so there's like he's heartbroken. He just lost the person he loved, or you know, he's like going through a breakup of some sort. There's something going on there, and then he's coming in and out of a coma.
Yeah.
And he's in a hospital bed. After watching the music video, which shows the Raven, which is a big indicator of many things, and then seeing the bandage on his head and like the wound in his head, I'm thinking he tried to kill himself because he was heartbroken, you know.
Yeah.
The loss of love drove him to try to commit suicide, but it failed, and he's like waking up in the hospital. You know, he's waking up like in shock and stuff, and they're having to hold him down. and that could be wrong, but that
No,
was
I mean,
what
I think that any what do artists say? They're always like, well, any interpretation you have is right,
Right.
I mean, some people get in your face and be like, no, I meant this specifically, and those guys are douchebags. Let's be honest, or girls, or they.
Yeah,
they're douchebags.
Well, I remember even in an interview, Bob Dylan once said, he's like, I write my songs so that it doesn't mean any one specific thing. Because I want everyone to have a personal, like, based on their personal experiences, thing. Like, well, I think it means this to me.
This is my interpretation. It's like you put your art in the world, and then however people interpret it, like you had a meaning, but that doesn't mean that that's what the meaning will become. Like eventually, like we will all adopt the collective meaning of this piece of art and kind of agree to it, and it may not be what you meant at all. It happens, and then sometimes people get it exactly right, and it's like, oh, you meant this, and like maybe I'm back.
Right.
I think everybody's on board on what he meant by that, and we all agree to it. As an example.
I don't know. I mean, I'll die on this hill. I think he was talking about baby back ribs, but yeah, I mean, a big indicator. I mean, it's not even like a huge part of the music video. It's very a brief couple times, but it literally opens with the raven like on his body, and I'm at least well read and a fan of literature enough to know that the raven, thanks a lot to Edgar Allan Poe, represents I think it was well, for one, it represents death, but two, it represents like serves as a constant reminder of the loss of love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And never like really recovering from it.
Yeah.
There is a third reason or a third thing that it symbolizes, but I can't.
Sure. I mean, I'm not like.
Can't remember it, but I was always. I just remember that because I loved that poem as a kid. Like we had to read a bunch of poems and stuff, and that was one of the few that I always loved.
Did you read more of your own poem, just out of curiosity?
I did. I could not. Wait. Did Edgar Allan Poe do Telltale Heart?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I loved Telltale Heart as a kid, and
The
Raven.
Yeah.
Man, my memory is so bad. I can't remember what else he.
I'm terrible with names.
It's been so long, but
yeah, I want to say The Hound of Baskervilles, but that's Sherlock Holmes one. I mean, I've read like a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, and it's like none of the names. There's the Case of Amorato, or the Casket of Amorato, where he tricks the guy down to the thing and then boards him up. You ever read that one? That's a fun one.
I don't think I have.
Oh, that's a fun one for another day. But yeah, so the music video is very, a little more explicit than the song is maybe. You're not wrong about so the way when I heard it, so like the album came out in 2013, and I'm a huge Queens of Stone Age fan. I've been from
is that the album that I Sat by the Ocean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Like Clockwork is the name, because it's like, because the joke is, they're a very jokey band. They've had Anthony Jeselnik open for them. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and if you ever hear like Anthony, I'm a huge Anthony Jeselnik fan, and he's got the greatest delivery and the most fucked up jokes on the planet. It's just.
I mean, he is like, he's in an echelon of his own in misdirection.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
There's literally no one.
Yeah.
You literally never know where the funk he is going. No
yeah.
matter how many, how much you've listened to him, or every joke you just.
And every joke sounds fresh every time he tells it. Like, it just seems like, I don't know. He's to me, like, maybe he's number one in my mind. Maybe he might be. Anyway. But he's like, never had me open for a band. He's just he's like, no, like, don't bring me to open for you, kind of thing. But it's just kind of funny. They're joking in a way you wouldn't think. It's like Clockwork is like, things go to shit like clockwork. And so what happened is Josh got sick and was in like, he couldn't move for like 4 weeks. He had like knee operation and like it just went to hell. And then he died at some point, like literally died. on the table, like, and apparently it was a drug-related incident. Okay. But at the time when the album came out, he told everybody it happened all at the same time. He was like, I guess not wanting to own up for things, wanted to own up for his like drug addiction at the time or something,
Okay. Wait, yeah. I thought you were saying, okay, so the dying didn't actually have to do with the injury.
No, but he told people it did at the time, but no, it was like a drug-related death. He never got specific about it because he's another person who doesn't really talk to media a lot. Right. He does and he doesn't. Like when an album comes out, he'll talk for a little bit, but then he's still vague and kind of, he doesn't want you to, which is fine by me. I don't want to know these people on a personal level for the most part, especially musicians. I don't think I really want to know them. Comedians, that's fine. I get them. Like musicians, like I want you to be vague. I don't want to know, like, I don't know what your daily life looks like, like, because it'll ruin everything for me because there's so much mystery in a good artist. Yeah. But comedians, it's like,
That's part of what I love about Daniel Tosh is that he, although he's completely, done a 180 and now he has a podcast.
Yeah.
But I love that his guests are just regular people in his life, It's like he has like his hairstylist on. Yeah, it's like random people just know him. But up until that, I mean, like never do an interview. Like you could never see like an interview with him, and
didn't tell anybody he got married.
Yeah.
Didn't tell anybody he had a kid.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, by the way, I'm married with a kid now.
Right. And I mean, I just always thought, especially like in the Tosh Point days, I loved the whole like, people were like, is he gay? Or like, they like just people just like want to know. They're like, I'm just like curious. Like, I feel like maybe he's gay. Is he gay? And like he did so much to like give just a little bit to maybe like, wait, are you? Like he was just kind of do that. But because you didn't know anything about his life, you're just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he has a girlfriend or he's married. I don't know.
And I didn't want it at the time.
That was part of the, it was like this joke that existed outside of the stage or like even like the show. It was just like, this like life existing joke. And so I always loved.
You ever watch The Prestige? We're gonna go on
that movie.
A random tangent now. I love magic. I love magic.
I do too.
I forced Becky to watch Card Trick yesterday, and she was just like, well, he's not even shuffling that. It's a whole thing. I'll tell you after the podcast. You are preaching to the choir. I love magic, and I will never try to figure out how they did it because I just like to be entertained. Yeah, I do. I
can also appreciate it, and also I hate people being like, oh, they're just doing sleight of hand. It's like, well, they're really fucking good at it.
You do sleight. You show me sleight of hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like you do. When you just did.
But the point of The Prestige is that the whole trick, and I'm going to spoil The Prestige, and if you haven't seen it by now,
well, that's your fault.
It's tough shit. It is a Christopher Nolan film. You should have all those memorized at this point in your life.
I mean, that's like 15 or more.
Sure, easily.
That's probably like 17.
The whole trick was that he had a twin brother.
Right.
That was the whole trick.
Yeah.
And he saw the old man, he saw the Chinese person do the trick with the fishbowl, right? And very early in the movie. Right. And the trick was that he always acted like that off stage. That he was like a very healthy, capable man, but the trick wasn't what he was doing on stage, it was what he was doing off stage, which was doing the fishbowl thing.
Yeah.
And so, talking about Daniel Tosh, the trick for Daniel Tosh was he never let you in. It was all off stage, and which works great. And so for like artists and musicians, and so somebody like the lead singer of Queens of the Stone Age, Josh Homme or however you say it, a lot of it is you don't know what's going on in his personal life, and I never really want to know. As long as I keep getting the songs that I'm getting from him, like I Appear Missing. If I get that and like. I don't want everything to go to shit for you. Honestly, like I don't want him to die on stage. I don't want him to die. I don't want him to be sad, but like, but if I get that as a result, I'm not necessarily mad about it. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say that, but it's like, it's just true. It's like, the good art comes from those places. And some people argue that, you can do it otherwise. I don't necessarily buy that. Not me personally. Like, if I was a normal, well-adjusted person, I wouldn't be funny. And I don't know if you believe that about yourself, but I believe that about me. Like,
oh, absolutely. I've never met a well-adjusted person that was
Yeah.
actually.
Well, you know who really tries to pull that off is Jerry Seinfeld, and I think the veil's off now.
Yeah.
And we talked.
I mean, I know it's like it's high treason to like to even
I don't think I'm ever getting invited to comedians with cars, so I think I'll survive.
I cannot think of a more overrated. I mean, it's insane because like, and I love Seinfeld is one of my favorite shows, but it's like, it's funny because of Larry David, not because of Seinfeld. It's like. Did you know how when Larry David left, the show went to shit?
Yeah.
It's because Larry David was what made it funny.
Yeah.
That's why Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of the absolute greatest shows of all time.
So great.
And it is amazing from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because it's all Larry David.
No, it is all Larry David. All right. Detour aside, we get right back on the main road.
Yeah.
I appear missing to me. So I don't think you're wrong with your interpretations. Now I can tell you the literal interpretation was that he did die. And so like this was like an interview, and he was just like, will people remember me kind of thing. I all found that out after the fact. I was in a really weird place when this album came out. Like I told we talked about that earlier, and I was like broke, like just broke as a joke. We had moved into like a bigger house, and we had like hard payments. So, we had 2 kids. And things were just like really hard for me. And then this album came out, and it was just like it like just like you said, your song, like this song to me, I Appear Missing, was just like a lifeline. And there's no other way to describe it. Like honestly, it's like I appear missing now. Just the way he says it, it's like I just felt invisible, and like and just nothing was going well. So I like. We had this lawn, and we had a lawnmower, and I would just be sitting there on this little lawnmower like once a week, listening to this album and just being like, nothing's going well, and I can't see a way out. And the thing about it, and I don't know how much you paid attention, the back half of this song is the craziest. It just goes crazy. It's like this weird guitar solo that just is chaos, and then the outro, I guess, the song. He's like, with my toes on the edge, what else can I do? And he's like, fly. And he's like, I've never loved anything until I loved you. And for me, and thinking about my fiance and stuff, like that's how I felt. Like I've been in, I'm more like you said, you're like in and out. Like I gotta go. Like I can't be in a relationship like that. I've had like long-term girlfriends like my entire life. Never got married, but I'm engaged now, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we make it to the finish line. And so that line really stuck with me because it's like that's how much like I didn't feel like I cared about these women and they meant a lot to me then, but it's like no, I really love you. Like I didn't know what it meant until I met her. And you've met my fiance, but it's like, or maybe you had, like, maybe you haven't. I don't know. Either way.
I think once. I'm
sure.
I'm almost positive I've met your fiance once.
But anyway, long story short, it's like that line stuck with me, and then the whole like, my toes on the edge. I'll just fly, which is just like like I said, it's like I've had a good run, whatever. I can just check out now. It was just like everything was just like a combination of just like lyrics that just like everything sat with me. It's like heart-shaped hole where love ran out. It was just like God. It is just like opening. It's like
it's something like where hope.
Hope.
It's like a picture or like identical to me, except for the heart-shaped hole where the hope runs out. Or something
Yeah. Hope runs out. I love that. But yeah. And it's just like God. It's just man. It just was hard. And like this album got me through, and this song specifically just got me through this time. And things picked up. I ended up having to get like a second job. So I'm like a teacher with like a full degree and everything else, and it's like working a second job in order to make ends meet. Luckily, I don't have to do that now, and I have time to do comedy. And that was another thing. I couldn't do comedy. I didn't have the time. I couldn't afford to. Like I just couldn't afford to just do it. Because we needed the money for everything, and it just teaching doesn't pay. Right. So, yeah, this song just like really stuck with me, and and I listened to your song, and I was like, okay, this is like one of those songs that gets you through something. and I was like, there's the connection. Like this got me through this, and it's like I felt like I know, like I said, it was the first verse I thought what you were connecting to, but it was more the second verse for you on your Suicide song, Boys song, which, like I said, is a good song. And it was just kind of like that connection there. It was just like I connected with it immediately, and I tried to listen to Suicide Boys before, and it's just we're like passing ships tonight. It's just kind of like I should like you guys, and maybe I will one day. Maybe I'll go back and really, like you said, you went like a deep dive, and you were like, okay, these are the songs that really mean something to me, and maybe I'll get that. But it's like it was just like that song was like, okay, well, if I would have heard this when I first tried to listen to it, like the Drive By Truckers, it's like if I would have heard this, I'd have been more on board from the get go.
Yeah. Because
this really is like kind of like up my alley with this kind of rap, and it was like the same thing with like this Queens of the Stone Age. Like I love Queens of the Stone Age, and most of their songs are like just hard rock songs.
I mean, I think Queens of the Stone Age and Suicide Boys are two artists that are similar in the sense that they have their songs that like you are likable from the get-go. Like you would, if you're listening to them for the first time, this is what you listen to. Mm-hmm. And then they have their music that only the people that already like the band are going to like. Like there's, there are songs that if I was like trying to get someone to do Suicide Boys, there's like 200 songs that I absolutely would not show them to try to get them into it, because I didn't even like those songs until like last year,
Yeah.
So it's like I think Queens of Stone Age is definitely one of those bands that has their even from album to album, they have like certain songs that's like, yeah, this is what you would be like, okay, I'm gonna get you into the Queens of the Stone Age. I'm start you with No One Knows, Little Sister.
Yeah.
What's the other one I really like? Make It With You.
Yeah. Go with the Flow.
Go with the Flow. Yeah. Like those are songs that you can like from the start, and then you have songs like I think It Appears Missing is probably one of those where it's like
absolutely the third or fourth song in.
You at least gotta or at least kind of know what their style is, and at least have an appreciation for it. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, the song does not like flow the way that I typically listen to music. But just because it's been so long since I listened to them, I can't think of any other examples. But honestly, what other thing I wanted to say was that I always think it's insane how anytime a song or an album or even a whole artist gets you through a really difficult time, you're never in that moment. You're never thinking this song is getting me through this right now. You're not thinking about it, and then until after you've gotten through that, and then you think back on it, you're like, that song got me through the hardest time. That was the thing, is that I almost gave you a different song for that basically the same reason that you was missing, is that the song She Knows by J. Cole.
Okay, yeah.
That song got me through, I listened to that song probably 15 times a day for 2 months.
Wow.
During one of the most difficult 2 months of my life. The only reason I didn't use it was because it was less about the actual lyrics and more about the. Do you know that song?
I'm not. I will listen to it though when we get done. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I do. I do know a lot of J. Cole songs. I might know it.
Doesn't matter.
But
But the chorus of the song has the song uses a sample from a song by the Colts. But the chorus of the song is, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. It has this very almost uplifting, it just sounds like a hallelujah.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Jeff Phipps, host of Give Me a Song. I don't know how it's going to be edited, but the way the show ended is we ran out of film on one of the iPads that we record on. So it was mid conversation with Max. And we talked about a few more things, not Not that it wasn't good conversation, because it was, but nothing that's going to change your life that you didn't see. But I had a great time talking to Max. And usually I let people plug their social media after the end of the show. And I would be remiss if I did not do that for Max. So first off, Max's special is called Lost in the Sauce. You can rent it or buy it on Amazon. And then you can find Max Pryce on Instagram at Max Pryce, Pryce comedy. So all, no spaces, no anything like that. So Max Pryce comedy with a Y. And then to close out the show for the week, thank you so much for listening. You know, tell your pets, tell your friends that you're checking it out. We're having a really good time recording these and talking to people I know about music and stuff. So thank you so much for coming along this journey with me. It's been a lot of fun. You can find us at Linktree, linktr.ee/gimme-a-song, GIMME a song. And you can find me at Instagram at Jeffrey, JEFFERY, Phipps, _Phipps, PHIPPS. So again, JEFFERY_PHIPPS. And like I said, tell a friend. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Everything is lit up. You're like, whoa, I didn't know all that was back there.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, no. Well, I'm getting it for free then.